Okay, this is part 3 of the SQL Server select statement. Okay, now I am going to create this table in the temp database because I have specified with the hash already, and this would be creating a empty table product. The name actually I have already specified where from the product where 0 equals to 1, and this would be creating a local temporary table, and this would be creating a global temporary table because I have specified 2 hash. Okay, let's go and execute it. Invalid object name from products. Okay, yeah, there it is. I have used the Northwind database, and actually I have created a first temporary table. Okay, and here is again I am going to create a global temporary table. No difference, only a hash added, nothing else. It says 0 record because where 0 equals to 1 will never be true, so no records would be added to the table. Only the structure of the table of the products is created, is copied to the empty table product. That's it. Now if I go and select the empty table product, okay, what already I have created, and if I say select star, so let's go and see if it records hold, whether it really exists or not. There you can see it's completely empty. Let's move to the next SQL statement. Okay, now suppose if you wanted to check whether all the records for where the field name was null, there would be many field name that would be into the rows that would be null, and if you wanted to check it out, you can always use the products, execute, and as you see there is no records for the in the product table where the product name is null. Okay, now let's go and actually reverse the situation. Now let's go and execute where not null, and here they are. As you can see, product name with not null, and truly speaking the product name cannot be null because it would not be the right thing to do it when you are designing a database. Okay, let's move to the next SQL statement. This is a very simple statement. There is nothing, there is only selecting the first field, that's it. Okay, let's go to the next SQL statement. Okay, here it is. Now this time it is going to be the adventure database. And this time it uses the roll up. Now this is select manager ID, gender, average. Okay, again when I have already spoken to you that if you are using an average, that won't be coming down because this is the aggregate function. The other fields that are previous to the aggregate function are going to come down the group by, and this time this is with the roll up. Now what is roll up? Now if you can see that the manager ID initially is null. Okay, the gender I have tried to do it by the gender wise. So okay, the manager wise, again the M stands for male, again the 1 is trying to actually try to sum the, every time you see a null there is trying to sum it up, as you can see. Okay, in the records, as you go by, whatever you see is the sum of the that category ID, as you can see here. Okay, sorry, it's the average. Okay, now these and these two are showing me the average, and it's showing 33.73. In this case there is only one row, so there is no average here. It is one row average is to the same thing, and so forth you can go on. That's what roll up does. Now here is the equijoint, nothing else, very similar to the already joint I have already spoken. There is nothing, I am not going to execute it. It's very similar, different ways of writing the same syntax. As you can say, where customer ID, okay, one is a parent table, other one is a child table. Okay, so remember that thing, when the one of the parent table and the child table is actually joined with the primary key and the foreign key, the parent table and the child table are joined by the primary key and the foreign key, and here it is. As you can see, this is the old type of syntax that was being used. Now the ANSI syntax that actually allows you to use, is supposed to be using an inner join. As you can see, you have to use the inner join. Again the same thing, no difference, only a little bit difference in syntax. You have to go through the syntax, nothing else, and everything is very similar. Only in this case I have ordered by the, otherwise it is nothing, there is no difference in the both. The result will give the same rows. If I, let's go and execute it. Maybe you may not feel that comfortable without executing. Okay, so it says here okay, it says 31,519 rows are here. Okay, that's what it is giving me. Now let's go and execute the same thing with the using inner join syntax, and as you see it will be going to give us the same row. There is no hardly going to be difference. There it is, as you can 31,519. Now let's go and see this SQL statement. It says select product ID, sales order ID, order quantity from the sales, where sales, this is the condition, it's trying to filter the record, and then it's trying to order by, and then it's trying to compute it. This is the new thing here. When I say compute some order by quantity, then it starts computing. It will start computing by the product ID. Let's go and execute it, to better to see it after the execution rather than actually I speaking out. Okay, this time actually I put the output to the text file out of text way, because actually that way you can see it much better. Otherwise it will actually, if you see it with the grid, it creates a problem in actually explaining what it is doing. Okay, here it is. As it is by the product ID, you can see that the sum is 3. The order is trying to order sum the order quantity by the product ID. Whenever the product ID changes, the sum is actually displayed. Let's go and actually see it little bit further. Here it is 1 and 1, 2, and so forth and so forth. You can go on and go depending upon the order quantity, whatever it is. Okay, let's go to the next SQL statement. Here it is. Now this one is a left outer join. Usually this type of syntax would give me an error, because I don't think so this syntax is supported in the SQL Server 2008. If I change the compatibility to the previous versions, maybe it would actually run, but in this case I don't know whether it, okay, it runs. Okay, it says a left join. Okay, left join is working. Okay, left. Okay, just a minute. Okay, what it does is actually, if you see, it will give you all the rows. When you use equijoin, it will give you the rows that matches the customer ID and the customer ID in the sales order report as well as the customer. In this case, it will also list the customer ID rows whether they match with the sales order header this table or not. Means in the other table would actually be displaying null. In this case, as you can see it, the other table is actually displaying the null. Now let's go to the next SQL statement. Again, if you wanted to just to see the table, you could always any table, and you did not wanted to see the table header only, and you do not want to see the rows. This is how you always do it. It's very similar to actually what I showed you when creating a table and using a select into, and this is exactly what it will do. It doesn't actually show up anything, it only shows you the header of the table. That is the column name. This is again a inner join, very similar. More than, it uses around 3 tables rather than 2 tables, nothing else. Very similar to the previous one. Order by one means actually order by the first column. If you do not specify the column name, you can specify with the number, then it will always use the first column that is actually specified in the select statement. As you can see, there are a lot of nulls specified because there is a left join using 3 tables, so it is going to actually show up a lot of nulls. Again, this is a very simple SQL statement. It says use northwind, go and actually specify where the region is null. Let's go and execute the SQL statement and let's run it, and you will see where some of the regions are null that are being listed here. Let's go to the check it out whether really it is true or false. This is the region column, and that's where actually the records have been listed as a null. Okay, just a minute. Okay, here it is. Here is the region. As you can see here, okay, it shows all the null values for it. Okay, let's move to the next SQL statement. Again, now there is another one that says you can select a distinct value from a table, but it can be actually used in this manner. If you say select distinct country, there are many in the column. If it is repeating many countries, and if you wanted to find out the different countries that were there in that table, then you can actually use a distinct with the column name and you can work it out. Okay, let's go and execute it, and here we are. As you can see, it will actually show it up. Here it is. It is showing us the distinct rows, and so far so good. In this select statement, actually I am forcing it to use the index. Okay, instead of actually allowing the SQL statement to run by itself and choose the index by itself, in this statement it is using an index. As you can see, this is what I am going to execute, and with the index, this is the index it would be using. Okay, where the region is null, and it has shown me, and I have forced it to use this index. In this SQL statement, I am using it with index equals to 0, which means do not use any index when executing this SQL statement, which means use a table scan. Let's execute the SQL statement. There we are, very similar records, but this time it was using actually a table scan because I had said index equals to 0. Now let's go and actually see use a union this thing. What happens with the merge option? Okay, let's use a grid this time. I'm going to execute the SQL statement. As you can see, though they both it should have used, actually you should have got the 18 records because 9 in the from the first, because these both the tables are the same, but because it is a union clause using, and because we are using with the merge option, merge union, actually it eliminates the duplicate ones. So you get only the 9 records or 9 rows. Now let's go and actually execute the union one with this one, and let's execute it. Again, this one also gives me the 9 rows only, but if I use it with the union all, it should give me more than 9 rows. Use your guess. If you don't know what to do, what it's going to be. As you know, because it is using a union all, it is actually taking that table and this table and adding the records, and you have got 18 rows. Now let's go to move to the next one. Now this is using an intersect rather than anything else. Execute it, and it is showing up the 9 records only, nothing more than that. Okay, I'll just stop it here. Okay.